es América, sea Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Bolivia, Perú, Ecuador, Brasil, Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Panamá, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, México, Cuba, República Dominicana, Jamaica, Haití, las Antillas, United States, Canadá, a my motherland, mi patria, Puerto Rico. Seguimos aquí.
With these words, the Puerto Rican rapper Bad Bunny, aka 31-year-old Benito Antonius Martinez Ocasio, chose to end his Apple Music Super Bowl halftime show on the 8th of February 2026. With over 120 million people tuning in to watch the spectacle live on TV, and clips of the show gaining over almost 4 billion views on social media in a span of just 24 hours, we could say this might just be one of the recent biggest events worldwide. Extremely different opinions were circulating in the media about his message and overall performance. Many people criticized him harshly for his show. However, his fans and many other viewers could not comprehend how he got this much backlash for his show. By naming almost all countries in the continents North and South America, Benito wanted to remind everybody that America not only consists of the United States. He intended to pull this move because of the current political state in the United States and how it influences the whole continent. I'm talking about the second Trump administration and its use of the immigration and customs enforcement. For those of us who don't rely on planet Earth or keep up with global news, since the re-election of Donald John Trump, many unhinged things have happened. One major shift is the change of treatment towards immigrants and especially illegal immigrants. It was exactly this drastic turn of events that Bad Bunny chose to protest against. And that's where we now need to look more into his intentions. First, let's have a look into America's culture. The traditional ideal of the US could be described as a melting pot. According to Bruce Thornton, a professor of classics and humanities at the California State University in Fresno, the term melting pot could be described as the fusion of various religious sects, nationalities and ethnic groups into one distinct people. Furthermore, he is describing it as a process of assimilation. He is describing this assimilation on the example of America. The immigrant was required to become American, to learn the language, history, political principles and civic customs that identified one as an American. This demand was necessarily in conflict with the immigrant's old culture and its values, and at times led to painful loss of old ways and customs. But how immigrants negotiated the conflicts and trade-offs between their new and old identities was up to them. To make it more clear for you guys, the concept of a melting pot illustrates how immigrants leave their identity behind to assimilate to American culture. Nevertheless, the reality shows that the US is actually a salad bowl. Starting in the 1960s, however, another vision of American pluralism arose, captured in the metaphor of the salad bowl. Rather than assimilating, different ethnic groups now would coexist in their separate identities like the ingredients in a salad, bound together only by the dressing, of law and the market. The view expresses the ideology of multiculturalism, which goes far beyond the demand that ethnic differences be acknowledged rather than disparaged. But guys, he had the audacity to perform the halftime show entirely in Spanish. Apart from the only more powerful thing than hate is love being displayed on a relatively small but noticeable jumbotron, the phrase "Together we America" was emblazoned on a football that Benito threw down with a meaningful salute to Puerto Rico. Additionally, his last words, "God bless America," were the only English exceptions in his show. As you can tell, he was unafraid of showing his culture and singing in his native language in front of over 120 million viewers. In fact, he's actually celebrating the salad bowl ideal, advocating that every single ingredient should be seen as an equal part of America. But I have to mention that he was extremely hated on for performing in his mother tongue. Even the president himself, Donald Trump, had something to say about it. On his social media platform, Truth Social, Trump called Bad Bunny's set
"Absolutely terrible, one of the worst ever. Nobody understands a word this guy is saying."
The president was not the only one hating on Bad Bunny's set. Other people on social media, like critics for example, were commenting on the Fox News articles.
Travel the word for business. I do not recall Spanish being a language that was used. English is the language of the world, regardless of whether you like it or not.
But before we look more into how the public reacted to Bad Bunny's set, we first need to clarify what the role of the media actually is. In a democracy, the media could be portrayed as a fourth estate, meaning that next to the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, the media's role is to convey unbiased information. But the information that the conservative media is releasing cannot be identified with the term fourth estate, because in most cases it is not legitimate. On the example of immigration, which has a lot to do with Bad Bunny's protests, you can obviously notice how manipulative conservative media actually is. To come back to the comments on social media on Bad Bunny's show, the viewers are framing him for attacking politics and say that it's not American to perform in Spanish. They are basically framing him and saying that Bad Bunny's show was awful and provocational, but in my opinion he was performing entirely friendly. So they are connecting Bad Bunny's performance with ICE, meaning that they subconsciously connect Latin culture as a threat to American culture. Now to the comments that I found online that I wanted to show to you guys.
Yo man, but I got a point. Superbowl is America. Why are we speaking Spanish? Have you ever seen the translated lyrics to this song? Very demonic. On purpose. At least the game had meaning, unlike a cross-dressing freak.
It was disgusting.
Worst show ever.
Hey guys, so I sadly deleted some footage of the video, so I'm just going to read that part out loud for you to understand it a bit more. So, the agency that enforces immigration laws and conducts investigations into undocumented immigration called ICE, that's short for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, plays a big role in the second Trump administration by removing undocumented immigrants in the US. Trump's election campaign promised that ICE would take the lead in a mass deportation initiative, and they put that promise into action. According to the White House, the promise that was made was, "We will begin the largest deportation operation in the history of our country." And the promise was kept. Every single day, the Trump administration is removing illegal immigrants, killers, rapists, gangbangers, truck traffickers, and other violent criminals off our streets and sending them back. In fact, ICE arrests under President Trump have already long exceeded last year's data, amid relentless nationwide enforcement operations. However, how many people have been deported exactly? According to the DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, in January 2026, in President Trump's first year back in office, nearly 3 million illegal aliens have left the US because of the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration, including an estimated 2.2 self-deportations and more than 675,000 deportations. So, since January 2025, they reduced their undocumented immigration population by over 2 million people. The great fear that comes with these brutal mass deportations can also be noticed in the music industry. The Super Bowl was Bad Bunny's only performance in the last 2 years in the United States. For his debut Tira Más Fotos World Tour, Benito skipped the US tour dates. In an interview with ID magazine, he confessed that it was a protest. He and his team were concerned about fans, saying there was the issue of ICE could be outside, meaning ICE could be outside his concert. He wanted to protect his community from ICE raids. And that's why Bad Bunny's protest is so important. His big audience caught attention to this major topic, and hopefully we are going to see a positive shift regarding this topic in the near future. Thanks for watching, and I hope that I also caught your attention to this topic. Extremely different. Okay. extremely. The only more powerful thing than hate is love, being displayed for performing in his mother tongue. Even the mother tongue, it's getting conservative and manipulative. This topic in the near future. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Okay. Thanks for watching, and I hope that hopefully